We're back. Welcome to another jam-packed edition of The End of the Night. I am your host, of course, David Lee Madison, and right here is my producer extraordinaire, co-host, and dear friend, Mr. Joe Ridgely. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
I am excellent. We dodged another hurricane. I'm so happy.
Yay! You know what's funny? I was out. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Say what you said.
Oh, no. I was going to say, how are you this evening? I know you're excited about tonight's show.
Oh, I'm super excited. As many of you guys know, my two favorite shows of all time, if it's 1A and 1B, my two favorite shows of all time were, of course, Sledgehammer, which everybody knows I'm a huge Sledgehammer fan. And my other favorite show of all time, as everybody knows, is Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And I am beyond excited to have Corin Nemec, Parker Lewis himself, joining us in just a few minutes. Super stoked, and that's just fantastic. It's funny, Joe, it's actually tomorrow, or Tuesday, actually. Tuesday is my wife and I's 25th wedding anniversary, 30 years together in total.
Congratulations.
And tonight we were, thank you. Tonight we went out for dinner, and driving home from Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is the city that's kind of the closest. We're like right in between New York City and Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Milford. And we went out to dinner tonight, and as we were driving home, Joe, it started to snow like a son of a bitch. It was snowing, and I was like, it was 70 yesterday, and tonight it's snowing like this crazy son of a bitch. Last week's show, we had David Howard Thornton, the Terrifier, and Joe, that was quite a watched episode and quite a buzz about it. People seem to love our new segment, Wendy's Top 10. Last week, the top 10 was why Terrifier 2 is better than Halloween Ends. Sadly, Wendy won't be joining us tonight with a top 10 list because she's hanging out in Ohio on doing having a pleasure trip and actually doing some business out there. So Wendy will join us with a top 10 hopefully next week. And sadly, again, our dear co-host and brother, Grunkle Scott Schiaffo, has caught, I don't know, he's got Ebola or something. He's been gone for like almost the entire year. And we wish him a speedy recovery. All kidding aside, Scott, we love you and we hope you get better. Yes. And that's kind of sucks because, he's the glue that holds this train wreck of a show together. I see Big Ed McKeever is in the group. Ed, happy anniversary. I was just telling Corin Nemec in the green room, so was Joe. We were both telling him how wonderful of a filmmaker you are and your wonderful production company in Tampa. So you guys got to hook up and make some movie magic together. He seems like a wonderful guy, Corin, and you guys can make some great films together. Sean, how are you, pal? I hope you are well. Ken from Roku, my main man, how are you? I hope everything's good. And Victoria, loving the beginning music and images. Well, thank you, Victoria. Thank you for watching tonight. So, Joe, how is everything by you? As I said last week, I got those wonderful scents from your beautiful daughter and wife's company. Tell us a little bit about where folks can get those wonderful things, because Christmas time is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Their fall and Christmas scents have arrived. Hearts of the Mystic Folk, check out their line of Awesome all-natural scented wax melts, wickless candles, and room sprays available in a variety of fun and seasonal scents. Hearts of the Mystic Folk on Facebook and Instagram and online.
I will tell you that the end of the night scent, which is rice pudding, absolutely makes me drool like Pavlov's fucking dog all the time because I'm always thinking that my wife or daughter are kind enough making this poor sap some rice pudding, but they never are. Somebody's saying hello from Melbourne, Australia.
Wow.
Hello, Beth. I hope you are well. Thank you for watching. Errol Wilkinson, I hope you are well. If I don't talk to you, have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season. And Ed, again, Ed McKeever, if you are out there and you have a chance to see The Beast Comes at Midnight, make sure that you go check it out. Great film. They did a wonderful, wonderful job. So, with that being said, Joe, is there anything coming up on the networks that people should know about?
Well, we've been slow lately because of hurricanes and people doing awesome projects and having their movies released. This Wednesday, we have Generation Movies with J.W. Como. And
Oh, sweet.
what is it going to be this week? Oh, he's doing 1982. So this week it is Creepshow. And we should have Brandon back on Friday. I just haven't got an update yet.
Oh, fantastic. I, of course, I'm a big holiday nut. We're going to have our all-star Christmas show with a guest lineup like never seen before on social media or on any talk show, to be honest with you. The group of people we put together is always quite eclectic and quite amazing. And I have a really wonderful show in mind this year. Hello from Corin's Facebook page. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I went out to last night. Brian and his lovely woman Diana, Brian O'Halloran, that is, invited me over and my family over for dinner last night. And she makes a great pasta fazool. Diana Devlin, who was on our show, I think 2 or 3 episodes back, made us dinner. It was chicken parm and pasta fazool. And Brian was going to join us tonight, but sadly Brian's feeling under the. Why is everybody sick, Joe? What is it?
I don't know.
Maybe everybody's just sick of me. That could possibly be. Hi, Tara. Thanks for joining us tonight. What does Brandon have to say? Another great guest, David. Huge Parker Lewis fan growing up. Also, I know my first name is Steven. And, of course, The Stand. Have a great show, gentlemen. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for watching tonight.
Well, thank you. And Brandon, let us know if you have a guest for this Friday so we can post it up here.
Change of weather, drastic change. That's very true. I mean, it's ridiculous. It goes from 70 degrees where I live on one day, and I think it's about 25 degrees and snowing in the northeast corner of Pennsylvania tonight where I live.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. It went from 87 degrees yesterday to 82 degrees today.
I hate when that happens. I don't know how you actually live through such horrific weather patterns and weather changes. All right, enough of our stupid banter. Nobody's here to hear you and me talk. Everybody's here to hear. Everybody's here to hear? Does that make any grammatical sense? Probably not. Everybody's here to hear the wonderfully talented and extremely kind Corin Nemec. And without further ado, one of my favorite actors, just since I was a kid growing up, watching Parker Lewis and Stargate and all his wonderful movies. He's just I kind of always wanted to be like him. He's such a cool cat. Ladies and gentlemen, Corin Nemec. Hey, Corin, how are you?
Oh, he's going to play the freeze thing? Don't do that to me, man. For producers, it sucks.
Have you guys seen Man vs. Bee yet?
Man vs. Bee? No.
Oh, you haven't seen that with Mr. Bean on
No.
Netflix show? Oh, it's brilliant. It's Mr. Bean. He's a house sitter, and he goes to house sit for a very expensive home, and a bee flies into the home while he's house sitting, and all insanity ensues.
Sounds like
It's great. It's brilliant. It's actually brilliant. It's totally brilliant. But he does a thing there where he's like talking to his ex-wife, and he like does where he And tries to pretend that, like, like the
thing
whatever,
froze.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yes. I'm not frozen. I'm not frozen.
So how the hell are you,
It is
Corin? Thank
cold
you so
here.
much for where are you tonight?
I'm in Virginia, West Virginia right now at the Tim Pool headquarters. We're down the street. Tim Pool is a podcaster like yourselves, and I came out here to discuss with him some television and film ideas, as well as do his podcast. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
So
And you guys' podcast.
Yes, well, thank you very much. We're actually absolutely honored to have you on. As I said, I'm an enormous fan. Growing up, as I think we're exactly the same age. I think I might be a year older than you. Growing up in the '80s,
I hope so.
My two favorite shows were. Do you remember Sledgehammer at all?
No.
Sledgehammer was about a show where a guy would talk to his gun. It was fantastic. It was on ABC about 2
years.
Oh,
I do. Yeah.
It was about 2 or 3 years before your show came on, and then your show came on Fox. Parker Lewis Can't Lose. And Corin, I tell you, that show was one of the funniest shows of all time. It was so unbelievably creative, and it was just such a fun ride. What do you think made that show so spectacular? Do you think it was the writing? Do you think it was just one of those cases where all the stars aligned? Do you think it was the performances? What do you think it was?
A combination of all of the above, really. Oddly enough, what most people won't realize is that Parker Lewis as a concept was created around a year and a half to 2 years before Ferris Bueller's Day Off was ever a movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, most people think
Clyde
that
Phillips. Yeah, Clyde Phillips and Lon Diamond. Clyde Phillips specifically was the creator of Houston Nights for CBS back in the day. And so he was one of the writer, creators, producers for shows for CBS in the mid-'80s. And I was cast to play Alan Hofstetter in the classic, iconic CBS TV special, quote unquote, called What's Alan Watching? It was done through Eddie Murphy Productions and CBS. And it was about a character named Alan who could communicate with his television and the people on the TV and blah, 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 blah. But it was it was very similar to Parker Lewis in many ways, and oddly enough, the creators of Parker Lewis, Clyde Phillips, was at CBS at the time, and they were asked to create a half-hour comedy for teenagers. So they developed a show, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, based on kind of the idea of What's Alan Watching, and unbeknownst to them, it was canceled, or not. Rather, it wasn't financed, and they ended up doing. Oh God, I'm so tired. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. So Ferris Bueller's Day Off ended up coming out as a feature film. And it reignited the idea of Parker Lewis being a series. Right. And that's kind of what got it to go ahead at Fox, because it was at CBS before that, ended up at Fox, and so on and so on. So, long story short, Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll show you how I am a sincere fan. I have the entire series here on DVD. And I did open them. I just slide them. I'm just so meticulous about my DVDs that I slide them out the sides.
Nice.
Such a wonderful, wonderful show. Anybody who's out there get their hands on these DVDs of this show. It was absolutely fantastic.
They're hard to find. They're very hard to find, actually.
Yeah, when they first came out, they sold like hotcakes, and then I don't think they did many printings after it. About 6 to 7 weeks ago, we had the great Melanie Chardoff on the show. And
no way! I love her.
Yes, and she was just an outstanding guest, and she has an amazing career, and the people she worked with is absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
Let me turn. You wanted me to turn it this way. There we go. I forgot about that.
No worries. And she
get my hands out of there. There we go.
she was just glowing about working with you and everybody on that show. As a fan of the show, can you answer this question to me? I'm sure a lot of the fans of the show always wondered what was Lemmer? Was he like a vampire, or what the hell was he? I mean, the guy could teleport.
He was a Democrat. Just kidding. Just kidding. Come on, everybody, calm down. It's a joke. I'm neither party, so it doesn't matter. I can make fun of both.
I assure you,
I can make fun of Orange Man Bad and the guy who can't even speak English, so it doesn't matter.
I assure you, no Democrats in a bad mood right now, Corin, so don't worry about it.
Well, apparently not. I mean, I have no idea about any of these factors because all of it makes me in a peculiar mood.
Yeah,
but Melanie Chartoff, fantastic to work with. Hilarious woman. Just don't get her eating broccoli and we're all good.
I can imagine that somebody who eats broccoli on set was rather an unpleasant. Do you stay in touch with any of your old Parker Lewis castmates?
Yes, absolutely. Myself and Troy Slayton, who is a judge in the state of California now, and Abraham Ben Ruby, who played Kubiak. Myself, Abe, and Troy have stayed in the closest contact over the years. We actually did they're great. I mean, Troy and Abe are just the best dudes ever. But we were actually in France a couple of years back for a convention for Parker Lewis.
Oh wow!
And they flew myself, Abraham, Troy, William Jane, and Maya Bruton, who played my sister in it. They flew us all over there. Did a fantastic convention at, I believe it was in Paris at the Paris Manga. I think it's the correct name of the convention, but fantastic time.
Now, how are conventions overseas in comparison to the ones that we have over here in the U.S.?
Much better.
Yep.
I've
no
comparison.
Sadly, I've done about 60 conventions, and I've only done them in the U.S. so far. So I hopefully will get to leave and see what you're talking about one day. That would be actually kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a different style. You know, it's much more like being like a used car on a used car lot in America at these conventions. You know, whereas overseas, there's a much more I don't want to say professional approach because I feel like that kind of like shines a bad light on American conventions, but the way that they do it there is a little bit more snazzy. Mm. Let's use the word snazzy.
So after you got done with Parker Lewis, you started working shortly thereafter on the great miniseries The Stand. Tell us how that came together for you.
Well, number one, I first met Mick Garris, who directed The Stand, when I auditioned for the role of Sleepwalker. What was it? The one with that Brian Krause played.
I think that was Sleepwalker with where they were turning into cats.
Yeah.
Was it Sleepwalker?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So that was before The Stand, and I had auditioned for it, but I wasn't the right, physical build for it. Brian Krause, who's a great friend of mine, got the job, and but Stephen King or at least the director had wanted me for it, but I just didn't have the physical fit. So when the miniseries came around, I still didn't. As it's scripted in the book, the character Harold Lauder is very large, and I was not. So But Mick Garris had remembered my audition from Sleepwalkers, and he was like, "This guy can play the role." So he called me in. I auditioned for it, and Stephen King was like, "Hey, he can play the role." So it worked out to my benefit in that respect.
No, and that's a really wonderful, wonderful piece of work. It was a great, great. It was like a made-for-TV miniseries, as I recall, right?
6 hours, 3 parts.
Yeah, it was just.
I believe so.
Here's a funny film because I was such a big fan back when Parker Lewis came out. I went to my local video store, and there was a film, and I'm not sure if I could even remember the title. I think it was Solar Crisis. That you.
Oh yeah.
The legendary Charlton Heston was in that movie. Did you get
Yeah,
to work with
yeah, he
Charlton
was my
at all in that movie?
grandfather.
Yes.
Well, outside of the fact that his breath smelled like mothballs. True story. I love the guy. I mean, God bless him, and what an amazing career he's had over the years and all that. But you know what? If you can't poke fun at life, then what's the worth of living it? He was amazing. I mean, Charlton Heston was in it. Jack Palance, Peter Boyle, Tim Matheson. What an incredible cast. And it's not the first time I've had the pleasure of being able to work with some incredible actors over the years in different films. From Operation Dumbo Drop, for instance, with Ray Liotta, Danny Glover, Dennis Leary. What an incredible cast.
Oh yeah.
I remember that film. How was Ray Liotta? Was Ray Liotta as intense in real life as he appears to be?
No, not even close.
Yeah, he was.
Sorry, I have to drink.
Okay.
There's no cups in this hotel room, so I have to drink out of the sink. I'm forced to be a Neanderthal.
That's better than drinking out of the hose. I'll assure you that.
Well, I had to spend. I'm here in Virginia, hanging out with Tim Pool, and we went to a casino. And I don't gamble or anything like that, so I spent 3 hours at a casino. I got back to the hotel, and I'm dying of thirst, bored out of my mind, and there's no cups or anything here, so I keep having to drink out of the sink, which is not a big deal. I'm from Arkansas. We all drink out of the sink in Arkansas. It's a normal thing. I know a lot of people who don't understand what it's like to drink out of a sink might be aghast, but it's a normal, everyday, usual event for people who drink out of sinks. So don't give me a hard time about it.
Nobody's going to give you a hard time because everybody loves Parker Lewis and everybody loves Corin Nemec. So there you go. You got that going for you. So tell us a little.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your days on Stargate. It was a wonderful, wonderful show, and your performances on that show were absolutely killer. And that had to be probably some of the most fun you had while making films and television.
You're not far from the truth. I mean, the time spent on Stargate. Well, I had no real idea. How successful and exciting Stargate was as a show anyway. When I was in Hollywood, Stargate, when it first started out in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was relegated to Showtime. So I didn't have Showtime on my whatever, the cable network channel, whatever it was. In fact, I didn't even have a television from 1996 until 2004 because I just didn't want to own one. So I had missed out on a lot of stuff that was on the air during that time period. But I remember seeing all of the Stargate advertisements all over Los Angeles. Billboards, the sides of buses, bus stop benches, whatever, you name it. So I understood the fact that it was a big deal and a big show, and I was a huge fan of the original movie. Huge fan. So when I had the opportunity to get on the show, I mean, it was a big deal for me, both as an actor, but also as a fan of the original movie. I
Mm.
was not very hip to what was going on in the TV series at all. But once I got the show, I got all of the well, they were VHSs back then. So I had gotten them to send me all the VHSs, and I watched every episode of the first 5 seasons to
Wow.
get caught up on where everything was. So as the character Jonas Quinn, I would understand what the universe was, what the reality of these characters were, and everything else. And it was quite a task, but I have to tell you, most amazing time ever. And Joe Malozzi, one of the best guys ever.
Sweet. Now, did you ever, because of your connection to Stargate, get to meet James Spader?
No,
Oh,
no,
that's kind of. You would
no.
think that you guys might
I
have.
mean, I'd like to say more about that because I love James Spader. What a character. But oddly enough, even over all the years that I've been in this industry, he's one of the characters. There's a whole generation of actors from his age range.
Hmm.
It's about maybe like 5 to 8 years my senior.
Hmm.
I have no idea what the fuck they were. Oh, sorry, what they were up to
You could curse, it's
during
fine.
my time growing up as a young actor in Hollywood. My generation was me and David Arquette, Balthazar Getty, Stephen Dorff. That group of guys was the guys I grew up with.
Are you still close with Dave Faustino?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, we just finished a film in January of this year, actually, called Pet Detectives. Very cliche on the name. I didn't name it. We're not producing it, but great guy. And he's supposed to be doing a film with me in January of this year too. We'll see, because the little rascal, they started doing the animated series for Married with Children.
Oh, did they? I didn't know anything
So,
about
maybe I might have let the cat out of the bag,
that.
but that's happening, and so he's about to start making a fortune again, and he's going to be a lot more difficult to get in touch with.
Oh, isn't that always the case when their egos swell and their head gets too big for the room?
He's too small for an ego swell. He's like 5'4".
It'll look like a bobblehead if his head gets any bigger.
Exactly.
We wish him the best because he's a great guy and
Oh, he's the best. He's the best.
let me ask you
Love
something.
him to death.
When you're at a convention, what do people know you most from? What are you most recognizable from? Is it Stargate or is it Parker Lewis? Is it something else?
It depends on the on where I'm at, to be honest. Overseas in Europe, Parker Lewis was a huge success, way beyond what it was here in the U.S. I mean, oddly enough, especially in Israel, it was the #1 show in Israel for several runs of the show, and traveling overseas is far more interesting to me in terms of fan base, because like I said before, there's a difference in the style of the way they do conventions and meet and greets or whatever else they do over there. They have a tendency to just make them a little more spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like more of a to do. Whereas here in the U.S., most of the conventions you do, they sort of shuffle everybody through everything. The whole experience is a little bit more corporate.
Yeah, it feels like cattle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we as the talent also feel like cattle in those situations. So don't feel like you're alone as people who are there at the conventions to like meet the talent. Trust me, we're all being cattle prodded into the same room for the same photograph at the same time. But I mean, I love it. I'm going to France for a convention in Reims, France. It's not spelled Reims. it's pronounced rinse, but it's like spelt Reams. There's an M in there.
Oh, sweet.
And it's game in Reims, France. It's a great convention. I leave there on the 17th to go there. Very excited about it. I love it. Can't wait to get back to France. Vive la France!
That's awesome. You know,
but here in the U.S., I think that they have a little bit of catching up to do.
yeah, I know. I think it's sadly conventions in the U.S. seem all about the almighty dollar and not what they're really
Yes,
supposed to
not
be.
about
It's
the experience.
yeah, it's supposed to be about the experience of people meeting, fans meeting the people that they, are fans of. I mean, it's really just that simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, so tell us, Supernatural, one of the most beloved television shows probably of our time. How'd you get involved with Supernatural?
Auditioned.
Yeah.
I literally, I mean, it was my manager, Michael Greenwald. He's a great guy. I mean, what a stellar dude. One of the most dedicated managers in Hollywood that any actor could ever ask for. Because most people in Hollywood, my agent as well, Bobby Moses, is incredible too. But in Hollywood, most managers, agents, representatives, and all of that are more along for the ride when you're doing great. And as soon as you go off the rails a little and like your paycheck stops coming in as big or whatever else happens, they're ready to move on to the next or whatever. And these guys just don't. They stick with the talent that they believe in. And man, the stuff I have going on right now, I'm telling you, bananas. Bananas.
Share some of it with us.
I can barely even give you all the data. It's so much has happened in the last 8 months even. I write, I produce, as well as act and everything else. And I've had a deal with a company called Capital Creative Management, a guy named Mark Klebanoff, doing Lifetime channel movies. So I'm writing and producing those. They're female-driven thrillers. I love writing. I love writing for female-driven characters, giving them a great perspective and a great a backbone and everything else. So that's been going great. My writing, I just have another film that we just finished shooting with Stephen Dorff and Cole Hauser, starring as the leads, along with Jack Kilmer, who's Val Kilmer's son, playing the young lead in it. And I wrote that with Brian Skiba, who's a good friend of mine, fabulous director. We've done about 5 films together. One of the other films we did together was that I produced was the one about the crazy rabbits, Rotten Tail. Sorry, it's late here, guys. It's been a long day. Rotten Tail was a great comedy, kind of grindhouse movie that we produced together. On top of that, I have another one called Half Dead Fred, which is a film my friend Braun Theron wrote and directed. That's coming out. It's won a bunch of awards so far this year in a bunch of film categories and different film festivals all over the U.S., internationally. Just shot my own TV pilot with me and Jason London. I have another film coming out early this year that we're shooting called The Shutdown with myself, Jeremy London, Vanessa Angel, Kyle Rankins directing it, who directed Run, Hide, Fight. Got several other movies that are all coming out this year. I mean, am I out of frame there? But it's just, there's so much going on. I'm absolutely swamped and have been traveling and flying around and doing all kinds of meetings. And that's what I'm up here in Virginia for. I'm so excited, to be honest, but I'm also completely exhausted and it's hard to even keep my eyes open.
Okay, so we won't keep you much longer, but I just
No, it's
wanted-
no problem. I don't mind a bit. I mean, I've been traveling nonstop from one place to the next. I just got back from New Mexico a couple of days before I flew here. When I leave here, I go to France a day and a half after I leave Virginia. Before I left I mean, it's just been insane. But I love every moment of it.
Beth is saying Rotten Tail was super gross but super cool. I think I saw Corin in Ghost Whisperer, Scott Travis says.
Yeah,
CJ
I was her father.
Oh, sweet.
Jennifer
I
Love
was,
father.
yeah, I was, It was a great role. I think I did 4 episodes playing her father, but I was burnt up, so you couldn't tell who I was. It was like me after like slamming my face in like a pile of corned beef hash and eggs.
Filmmaker CJ Robles says Parker Lewis and Zach Morris were big role models for me growing up. You two helped get me through junior high. Thanks.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong. That's no. Kelly Bazowski or whatever helped you get through junior high.
Oh, there you go. Corin Nemec. That moved on me. Tell them how amazing Half Dead Fred is too.
Well,
That's
yeah,
Tara Van is saying that.
It's a wonderful piece that a good friend of mine, Braun Theron, me and him know each other from the graffiti art scene. I've been a graffiti artist since I was 10 years old, and I still keep very up to date in the graffiti scene, as far as painting and everything else. But as up to date as I can be. But that said, we've done some work together over in the past and have known each other in the graffiti scene. And I did some other smaller independent films and independent shows with him. And when he came up with this script, Half Dead Fred, it's a detective, like a gumshoe detective, like 1950s gumshoe detective that communicates with ghosts and is able to solve crimes by doing so. I was like, I'm in. You know what I mean? I was like, that is right up my alley. I love it. And we shot it in Flint, Michigan. Had a great team involved in it. In fact, the film, the last film I shot in South Mississippi, I brought in some of the crew from Half Dead Fred to work on my film because they were so good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, because a bunch of people wanted to know, what was it like to work with Wesley Snipes on Drop Zone?
The best.
Really? You're one of the very few people who will say something nice about that guy.
What? Me and Wesley were tight, man. Me and Wesley were really tight. Oddly enough, what people have to realize is that when you have that kind of money and that kind of fame, it's not like you're trying to hang out and just like rap with everybody who comes by. I'm that kind of guy. That's just how I do it.
Right.
But I understand how people are like, they can get overwhelmed. But Wesley was the best dude ever. I don't understand where people are coming from when they talk about Wesley in ways that I don't know him.
Right.
One of the nights we had though. We had an amazing night in Miami because it was Sylvester Stallone was down there on some other film at the same time, and we all ended up at the same bar, and so it was me and Wesley Snipes and some of his crew at one table, and then sorry guys, I dropped my phone, and then at the other table on the other side of the bar was Sylvester Stallone and like his crew and posse. And unbeknownst to me, they were having like a champagne buying battle. So we ended up with this towering inferno of champagne glasses. After buying, I don't know how many bottles that they bought against each other. Well, let me tell you something. I'm still hungover. And that was 1995.
I can imagine. It's funny because Sylvester Stallone was it was very strange meeting Sylvester Stallone because as people our age, Corin, we grew up idolizing him as Rocky Balboa and John Rambo.
Yeah.
And I'm 6'7", so I think you can understand where I'm going with this story.
Oh my God, you're 6'7"?
Yeah, I think Stallone in high heels is like 5'6". So
Yeah, exactly.
I met
He's
Stallone,
like
and he
just
went
a little bit taller than David Faustino.
Yes, I met Stallone, and he went up to my nipples, and it was such a bummer. It was just like, how did this happen?
Did he like bounce them around? Was he like,
no, he was actually a very pleasant human being. The only star who I've had a lot of interactions with, who you never know what you're going to get. I'm sure you've met him a gazillion times doing conventions. Is fucking Shatner. That dude, you never know what side
Shatner's the best.
You never know what side of the bed Shatner's going to wake up on. Let's be honest. I don't know.
Shatner. I've never had a bad experience with him.
Okay, so then maybe he just likes you. He calls me fucking Madison.
I don't know.
So.
I mean, we had a great time in Australia. I mean, I've been down to Australia like 26 times over the years, and he was down there with me at least 5 of them, and I remember having some of the most interesting, avant-garde, nonsensical conversations with him in the green room. Nothing about anything scientific at all, mind you. And he did quote a poem to me once.
Which poem was it?
One of his originals. I could not repeat
Why am I not shocked? Surprised it wasn't Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
I was going to say, did he sing to you?
Oh, I would have loved that.
So, Corin, if you had this is just a strange from left field question. If you had the opportunity to work with any living director or any living actor right now, or actress right now, who would you choose out of those two?
It's a good one. Baz Luhrmann.
Oh, wow, okay.
By far.
I thought you were going to say Scorsese
Love to
for
work
some
with
reason.
Baz Luhrmann.
Or Spielberg or Scorsese.
Sorry?
I thought you were going to say Scorsese
No,
or
Baz
Spielberg.
fucking Luhrmann.
Oh,
Baz
okay.
Luhrmann. What? Oh, are we on the same page here?
No. Or David Lynch.
I mean, what a dynamic, outrageous point of view he has and approach to directing. Mm-hmm. You know, he has a way of taking, a traditional approach to a film and just flipping it on its head, and just giving you a eye candy spectacular, as well as following through with a storyline that you can keep up with. Baz Luhrmann's one of my faves.
Sweet.
By far. Obviously next to good Lord, why is there some of mine? Eyes Wide Shut and
Kubrick.
2001. Yeah, Kubrick.
Kubrick, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he died. I forgot his name. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But if Stanley Kubrick was still alive, he'd be my Baz Luhrmann.
Okay. And if you got to act opposite somebody, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, tough one. There's so many. But here we go again. Brain farting. The new series about Arkansas, the Ozark.
Oh, Jason
Costner?
Bateman.
Jason Bateman.
Oh, Jason Bateman. Okay, I thought you were thinking of Yellowstone. My apologies.
No. Right on. I mean, I've gotten a chance over the years to work with some absolutely incredible actors. I mean, most people will be absolutely blown away by some of the actors I've worked with over the years. But Jason Bateman, there's just something about that guy. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not sure if anybody can. But there's a casual intensity to what he does that when I watch him, I can feel every emotion that's happening but on his face, I can't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has a way of masking appropriately the emotions that he's feeling in a scene, but expressing them in a way that you really shouldn't be able to feel on film, but you can. It's just that guy's incredible.
Did you
I
remember?
love Jason Bateman.
Do you remember his very first television show? It was a show with Karen Kay called "It's Your Move."
I didn't see It's Your Move, but I remember the one that he did with
Ricky
with,
Schroeder, Silver Spoons.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then
I thought he was on Little House.
Was Jason Bateman? He might have been. Yes, he was. He played Charles's son. Charles builds a.
No way.
Yeah, Michael Landon builds a great big.
Now it makes perfect. He looks totally like Michael Landon.
Right. There you go.
Was he his son?
Yeah, he played. Well, he was his son that got his parents in the show. Jason.
It's just odd that you say that because he could. I mean, he literally looks like he could be Michael Landon's son.
His sister in the show was Shannon, who was the one from 90210? Shannon Doherty.
Oh, Shannon Doherty.
Shannon Doherty and Jason Bateman were brother and sister, and their parents died in the show. And Charles Ingalls adopts them, and he becomes his adopted son. And one of their big final episodes was that Jason Bateman's character was dying, and Charles builds a big altar on top of a mountain, and Ernest Borgnine comes down as God and heals Jason. Isn't life wonderful?
Wait a minute, was that a fever dream or was that a real thing?
Yeah, that's. I feel like I'm having a fever dream right now thinking about it.
That was a real thing. I literally am the master of Bashan. No, I'm literally the master of. I wanted to turn it into the Church of Little House because it's like everything that happened on that show kind of had like a good vibe to it.
Right. If I may, we have a question from Brandon E. Brooks. Corin, how difficult was your role in I Know My First Name is Steven to play as a young actor? A very disturbing yet powerful series I remember watching growing up. Great work.
Oh, I really appreciate that, by the way, and thank you. I did an extensive amount of preparation work for that role with an acting teacher and actor named John Lenn, who was a real pro involved in the actor's studio, old school actor, blah, 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 blah. There's too much to say about him in present time. But at the time, I would say that I was slightly unprepared to play that role in terms of my training. And I did a great audition for it and got the role. And the director, after working with the director, had suggested that I work with John Lenn. And I realized within one day of working with John Lenn that I was only scratching the surface as an actor of what it really meant to be an actor and create a role and understand what it was to create a role. I had done some great studies with some great teachers, Kevin McDermott with Center Stage LA, Terrence Hines and his acting studio. And a lot of that was improvisational work and light kind of dramatic work for young actors. And, for a role of that depth and that well written, that well, produced, it was not something I was overtly prepared for. And after working with John Lenn for 2 weeks, we dissected this character, understood all the ins and outs of his history and even dealing with the reality of Steven Stayner, as well as what we were creating to create the behavior of Steven Stayner without knowing all the details. But that said, man, I learned more about acting in a 2-week period in the lead up to filming that miniseries than I had in the previous 4 years of studying acting by far, and got an Emmy nomination for it, for God's sake, which was, if I recall correctly, I was the youngest person ever at the time to be nominated for an Emmy. And I was, in fact, one of my later co-stars from Operation Dumbo Drop was I was against him for as an Emmy nominee during that time period.
Sweet. That must have been with you being so unbelievably young. It must have been like you felt like the world was your oyster at that point because of the amazing work
Not
that you were going to do.
really.
Really?
No. I was, I think a lot of folks don't realize I was a graffiti artist, but
Mm.
I still am. But I was a graffiti artist from age 9, 10 years old. I started acting when I was 11 or 12,
Mm.
and graffiti art was my passion. During that whole time period, and what I did for fun in order to finance my graffiti art was act. So as whereas a lot of my friends had to go steal their spray paint, I could go and do an acting job and get money in the bank and go and buy my spray paint instead of risking arrest, to steal it, to go and do my paintings and my murals and everything. So I had this odd, you know, desire to act to reinforce what else I was doing in life.
Sweet.
And it gave me, in a way, it lessened the burden of responsibility to acting,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
No, it
You know what I
absolutely
mean?
does.
I wasn't as like strangled by the idea of acting, as well as the industry itself, because you can see how many young actors lost the plot later on in life as they became adults. You know what I mean? They started believing that they were who they were said they were supposed to be by media or whatever. And if you believe your own PR and your own hype, you're on your way out the door to insanity.
So Scott is saying, I think Corin used to do graffiti with Jane Kahn's son, or
James
James. I
Caan.
can't speak.
Yeah.
James Kahn's son.
Yeah, he tried to. Yeah. Yeah, Scotty Kahn he hung around quite a bit back then, but really, like, for instance, if anybody's familiar with some of these folks, like, Balthazar Getty was a good buddy of mine. We did graffiti together when we were 12, 13 years old. David Arquette that's how we met, was through graffiti art. He was a
Oh
big
no, he was
time
a
graffiti
rapper.
artist.
He wasn't a graffiti artist. No.
He started out as a graffiti artist, became rap. Me and David Arquette have a song on SoundCloud that we did, that Balthazar Getty produced, called "The Madness," that we did in 1989 in his in Arquette's bedroom at his parents' house off of Melrose when we were 16, 17 years old. That we finally got digitized. So we're old school graffiti heads. Seth Binzer, who's Shifty from Crazy Town, was great. Was a graffiti buddy of mine. Justin Warfield, the lead singer from She Wants Revenge, was in my graffiti crew. It goes on and on. I mean, it's really odd that so many people I grew up with in the graffiti scene in the '80s ended up as professionals in the industry in one way, shape, or form. In fact, a lot of people in the arts side of the industry and work came out of the graffiti scene in terms of set dressers and set designers and painters and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bansky started out as a graffiti artist, didn't he? No.
If you want to call him that.
Okay.
Banksy, you mean?
Yeah, Banksy. Yeah, I went to school.
Yeah,
in second.
well, I mean, it's street art. There's a difference between graffiti art and street art, even though it falls under the same basic category. Street art is something that graffiti artists look down on. I don't, because I got into street art as well, and did a lot of it and still do a lot of it on the down low. But it's an exceptionally exciting medium. For me, the excitement about being a street artist or graffiti artist is that you don't focus on a canvas in an art studio. Everything takes place exterior to the studio.
Mhm.
It's out in the streets, it's in public, it's on the train yards, it's in abandoned buildings. It's one of the most exciting and adventurous mediums for art that there could ever be.
You know what's awesome? You could tell just by listening to you speak, and you also kind of get a total different glow about you when you talk about graffiti and art. And it's so cool that you're so passionate about it. So that's awesome. Where can people, Corin? Where can people find you on social media so they can follow what you're up to?
Well, I don't do a whole lot of social media, but mainly I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are the same address. It's the letter I and the letter M, and then Corin Nemec, CORINNEMEC.
Sweet. Filmmaker Brandon Brooks has a question before we let you go. Corin, did you ever go to dark places as an actor while playing both Ted Bundy and Richard Speck?
No. Oddly enough, hold on. Give me I'm caught up here. Give me a second. I have to get another drink of water for this one.
Okay.
There's no cups here in this fucking hotel room.
You got to get out of the Motel 6, brother.
So I'm over there dying of thirst, trying to talk to you guys without a cup of water. All pasty and stuff. Anyway, long story short, what were we talking about?
What was it? Brandon asked, did you go to a dark place playing Ted Bundy or Richard
That's
Speck?
right. Yeah, no. That's what I was going to say is my teacher, my acting teacher, Manu Tupou, who I studied with from age 21 to 38 until he passed away.
Wait, I got to interrupt
he was
you.
a senior member.
Corin, your mic is rubbing against your jacket.
There we go. Is that better?
Much better.
Much better. Thank you.
Sorry about that. No,
worries.
Thank you for letting me know.
Sure.
My acting teacher, Manu Tupou, he was totally against the method. The method acting, there's an insanity to it. I was talking about it earlier today, actually, but there's an insanity to it that where you have to connect yourself up with tragic memories and dark, moments of your past that are unnecessary for the creation. You know what I mean? They were unnecessary for the creation of a character. So in studying with my teacher Manu Tupou during the time period when I shot both of those films, it was about believing in the character, believing in the moment, believing in the scenario. Outside of that, to wrap it up quickly, Richard Speck, I had a great time playing that character. It was oddly enough. I mean, as disturbing as that character was, and as unnerving as the story is, the character was insane. Richard Speck was actually crazy. A lot of these characters who do these kind of behaviors, they want to pretend they're crazy, but they're really not. And Richard Speck himself was absolutely insane. He was he had lost the plot at some point in his youth and never regained it. Ted Bundy, on the other hand, was perfectly sane, was very well mannered, and extremely thoughtful in the ways that he went about committing his crimes. That is what disturbed me so much playing the character, is that he wasn't crazy. And I couldn't make sense out of his behavior as an actor. And I don't do method acting, so I was creatively trying to make sense out of it by translating his ideology or his philosophy, whatever that was, into some semblance of my own, which was somewhat easy for Richard Speck because he was crazy. So I could pretend to be crazy. That's very easy. but being insane and totally sane at the same time, it was disturbing, man. I have to say, it's one of the topics that honestly rubs me raw every time it's brought up, is playing the role of Ted Bundy, because after 2 days of playing that character, I was so sick of playing that character. I mean, I could not wait to finish the day's work, because he knew exactly what he was doing. And that is what was so disturbing to me. Somebody who's crazy, somebody who's nuts, and you can justify, oh, this guy obviously was totally insane, had no idea or some semblance of an idea what they were doing. He knew every single beat and moment of every action he was taking was completely well thought, planned out, and absolutely disconcerting as a human being who has any respect for other human life, to note that there's people like that out there even right now. A little scary.
No, absolutely. On that wonderful note, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, was I on camera there? I couldn't see my face anymore, so
Yep,
I didn't know if I was holding it up here or anything else.
No, it was one. First off, thank you so much for doing my show. It's an absolute honor and privilege to get to meet you. I hope to someday work with you. That would be a dream come true. You inspired me as a filmmaker and as a human being. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on our show tonight. So, thank you, Corin.
Hey, man, thank you guys too as well, and apologies for the scatterbrain kind of approach to the interview, but it's just been a mad roller coaster the last few weeks. But I'd love to catch up with you guys again.
You were incredibly articulate. Your answers were fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. I don't feel like it tonight.
No, I know you had a long day and you're retired, and a lot of people would have just kind of poo-pooed off the interview, but you were a stand-up guy after being exhausted and having a rough day, and came through and did just a wonderful job. So it's an absolute pleasure. We have
Let's
a dear
do
friend.
It again.
Absolutely. Anytime you have anything to promote, please come on the network, and we'll have you on any show you wish to be on. We have a great filmmaking friend in the Tampa area named Ed McKeever. So I'm going to tell Ed to he's making some really wonderful movies right now. He just has one out right now with Eric Roberts and Michael Pare.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, yep. And
I'd like to talk to him about that experience.
Yeah, he's making some wonderful movies down there in the Tampa area. So
I love it.
I'm going to tell Big Ed to send you a friend request. And
yes, well, yeah, you guys have my number.
Yes, we do. And
just give it to just tell them to call me.
And just remember, awesome. I'm on the east coast of Florida if you need anything.
Oh, I do. I need lots of things. You never should have offered.
He's like, Joe, bring over a pizza and beer now.
Yeah. I'm flying into Florida tomorrow, buddy. I'll see you Tuesday morning.
Oh, wait a minute, Joe. I'm in West Virginia. I need a cup.
Get on that, Joe. Get a cup up there.
I know. There's no cups in the whole hotel room. It's ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, Corin Nemec. Thank you so much, Corin. You're wonderful. Thank you for just being an awesome guy.
I love you guys. We'll do it again.
Next time. We appreciate you. Man,
wow, what a great guy!
That was awesome.
Yes, I mean it's great because like when I was a kid, I loved it. I loved Parker Lewis Can't Lose. I went out and I rented that film that he did with Charlton Heston. I also remember some film that his character fell from like a helicopter into the ocean, and it was just such a wicked scene. But I can't remember what movie that was. Maybe it was the movie with Wesley Snipes about like parachuting.
I believe so.
Yeah, that might have been it. I don't recall. He's just a wonderful guy, and I hope that from doing the show with how many with how many people watch this program and how many filmmakers are a part of this, Corin can get some some work down in Tampa because he's a great actor, and it doesn't sound like he's hurting for doing any work. He's got an enormous amount of stuff coming out, and it was just an absolute pleasure to have him on. So again, I want to thank everybody. It was drops. Okay, I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. I want to thank Corin for being such a great guest, and it's so nice that when you meet somebody who's one of your heroes, that they actually turn out to be a decent guy. It's a lot of times that happens, and it doesn't work out that way. I want to thank everybody who watched tonight. Joe, I think we'll be back next Sunday, but if we're not for any reason, I wish everybody a very, very happy Thanksgiving. The last 4 or 5 episodes, we had Tom Holland, Corin Nemec, David Howard Thornton, we had Diana Devlin. It was just really, really been a fun stretch of episodes we have here. I think we might have one more before we break for Thanksgiving, but if we don't, everybody have a lovely and wonderful Thanksgiving. I was going to share some pretty epic Full Moon Fever news, my upcoming werewolf film, but I was going to wait for Grunkle Scott, who is a big part of that movie, and I wanted to make the announcement. So we will wait till Grunkle Scott's feeling better. Grunkle Scott, we love you. Get well. Good.
But regardless, go over to Full Moon Fever on Facebook, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you can get all the updates for Full Moon Fever. Also, David Lee Madison's The End of the Night on Facebook and the Indie Escape Network on Facebook and all the socials. We would love you to check them out.
And make sure you do some shopping at Heart of the Mystic Folk before makes wonderful Christmas presents. With that being said, Joe, is there anything that you want to, before we sign off?
I think we're good.
All right. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.